good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Shuhaida Arifin and you're watching News at 10. Our headlines tonight. Tributes pour in to Britain's longest-serving monarch. Government agrees to continue 4 East Coast projects. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah and Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Haja Azizah Aminah Maimunah Iskandariah have expressed their deepest condolences to the British royal family over the passing of Britain's Queen Elizabeth II. The King and Queen said Her Majesty will be remembered by the government and the people of Malaysia for her unwavering commitment to the Commonwealth of which Malaysia is a proud member and her efforts to promote stronger ties between the United Kingdom and Malaysia. In a statement issued via Istana Negara's Facebook page, Their Majesties said Queen Elizabeth II would also be remembered for her dedication to the people and the government of the United Kingdom, as well as for her deep concern for the welfare and well-being of the people. Reminiscing on the memories of meeting the Queen, Their Majesties had the pleasure of paying a courtesy visit and attending a luncheon with Queen Elizabeth II at Buckingham Palace, London on 13 December 2019. The courtesy visit and the luncheon were in conjunction with Their Majesty's 7-day special visit to England, which began on 9 December 2019. Queen Elizabeth II during her reign visited Malaysia 3 times in 1972, 1989 and 1998. Earlier, it was reported that Queen Elizabeth II, Britain's longest-serving monarch, died at the age of 96 at Balmoral Castle in Scotland yesterday. Also expressing sadness over the passing of the Queen were the Sultan of Johor, Sultan Ibrahim Almarhum Sultan Iskandar, and the Permaisuri of Johor, Raja Zarith Sofia Almarhum Sultan Idris Shah. In a Facebook post, the royal couple also conveyed their condolences to the royal family and the people of Great Britain. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, representing the entire keluarga Malaysia, also expressed condolences and sadness to the royal family, government and people of the United Kingdom on the death of Queen Elizabeth II. He said Her Majesty, who was also the longest reigning monarch of Britain, was known for her dedication to looking after the welfare of her people. In a post on his Facebook, the Prime Minister said her services in maintaining good relations between the United Kingdom and countries around the world, including Malaysia, will always be remembered and appreciated. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri expressed hope that Her Majesty's royal family and the people will continue to preserve in the face of this moment of grief. Buckingham Palace on Thursday announced Queen Elizabeth II has died at the age of 96. King Charles III and the royal family began observing a mourning period for Queen Elizabeth II that will last until 7 days after her state funeral. Buckingham Palace in a statement said the date of the funeral will be confirmed in due course. It added that the mourning period will be observed by members of the family, household staff and troops committed to ceremonial duties. Flags at royal residences will remain at half-mast until the morning after the final day of royal mourning. Royal gun salutes were fired in London Friday at 1 p.m. local time in Hyde Park and at the Tower of London, with 1 round fired for each year for her 96-year-long life. Royal residences will close until after the funeral. Officials advised people wanting to lay flowers at Buckingham Palace to do so at the dedicated sites in the nearby Green Park or Hyde Park. An online book of condolences has been opened on the official royal website, royal.uk. Details of official national mourning will be confirmed by the government later. As Britain mourned the death of the Queen Elizabeth II, a stirring of dominions, realms and former colonies marked the loss of a shared figurehead and an irreplaceable link to a quickly fading era. Although she was 96 years old, the Queen's death came as an emotional jolt felt across the Asia-Pacific. In New Zealand, its Royal Regiment Artillery performs a 96-gun salute to mark the passing of Queen Elizabeth II in Wellington. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern signs a book of condolences after the death of Queen Elizabeth II, while Wellington Cathedral of St. Paul places a portrait of the late Queen on its altar. In Australia, flags on the Sydney Harbour Bridge were flown at half-mast, while a 96-gun salute was performed outside the Parliament House. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, in a statement, said, "An historic reign and a long life devoted to duty, family, faith and service has come to an end." There were similar scenes in Hong Kong, a former British colony. Newspapers in Hong Kong published news about the monarch's death on their front pages. During her reign, Queen Elizabeth visited Hong Kong twice, while her son, now King Charles III, was present for the handover to China in 1997. Moving on, more than 7,000 electrical and telecommunication items without certificate of approval COA and import permit worth 4.6 million ringgit were seized by the Royal Malaysian Customs Department JKDM during a raid at a warehouse in Petaling Jaya, Selangor recently. Customs Deputy Director General Enforcement and Compliance Wan Saadah Muhammad Muhyiddin said the goods were brought into the country through false declaration as stationery items.
Jadi barang-barang elektrik ini adalah terlibat, antaranya adalah pembersih hampa gas tanpa wayar atau cordless vacuum cleaner, pembersih udara pintar atau smart air purifier, pembasah suara pintar, smart speaker, kipas pintar, smart fan dan lain-lain. Serbuan ini juga telah berjaya menyita peralatan telekomunikasi dan multimedia seperti telefon pintar, alat permainan video, jam pintar, kotak Android dan kamera litar tertutup pintar yang memerlukan permit import daripada Suruhanjaya Komunikasi dan Multimedia Malaysia dan Sirim Berhad.
All the items were seized during a raid at a warehouse at about 11 a.m. last 26 August. When Saadah said no arrest was made, but JKDM had identified the individuals involved, including the warehouse owner, adding that the warehouse had been used as a store since 2020. The body of a 13-year-old girl who was feared to have drowned after she went for an outing with a group of friends off Tanjung Balau Beach in Kota Tinggi, Johor, was found at 2:37 p.m. today. Kota Tinggi District Police Chief Superintendent Hussein Zamura said the body of Nurish Kalisha Suhailizam was found by a team of rescuers about 50 meters from where she was reported to have drowned. He said the victim's body was found stuck in a rock crevice and it has been sent to the Kota Tinggi Hospital for post-mortem. He said the victim and 5 others, siblings, Muhammad Ashraf Shazwan Muhammad Fairuz 7 and Nur Azrin Shazwani 13, Siti Alisha Kistina Mustafa, Siti Nur Alisha Abdullah and Nur Zurin Hafiza Muhammad Azhari, also all 13, had gone free this morning for an outing after getting permission from their respective families. He said Muhammad Ashraf Shazwan and Nur Azrin are reported to be in critical condition and are being monitored at the Kota Tinggi Hospital Intensive Care Unit, while the other 3 are safe. Coming up next, telecommunication facilities on populated islands to be upgraded. The government agreed to continue implementing 4 projects under the East Coast Economic Region Development Council ECERDC. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said all the projects were decided at the ECERDC meeting held at Kelantan State Secretary Office in Kota Baru today. According to the Premier, the projects covered the construction of East Coast Expressway Phase 3 (LPT3) from Gemuruh, Terengganu to Pangkalan Kubo, Tumpat, Kelantan over a distance of 147 kilometres, and Phase 2 of the flood mitigation project in Rantau Panjang, Golok, which were approved with a cost of RM897 million. Apart from that, the government also agreed to the extension of Kuantan Segamat Highway involving the route from Runcang to Simpang 3 Kratung over 51 kilometres.
Jadi inilah komitmen kerajaan persekutuan, iaitu di dalam membantu untuk membangunkan negeri Kelantan. Begitu juga dengan Pahang, Terengganu. Dan saya nak jelaskan bahawa dari segi kerajaan persekutuan, kita berlaku adil kepada semua negeri.
Speaking at the opening Kampung Laut Heritage Village in Tumpat, the Premier said he appreciates the efforts of ECRDC in leading national economic recovery initiatives in the East Coast Economic Region (ECER) through the implementation of various development programs on human capital, strategic projects and attracting new investments. He said the efforts had succeeded in stimulating economic activities in ECER and added value to the prosperity of keluarga Malaysia. Telecommunication facilities on populated islands as well as islands that are popular among tourists should be upgraded as quickly as possible. Communications and Multimedia Minister Tan Sri Anwar Musa said it should be prioritised for the convenience of the people as well as to support the tourism activities on the islands that are contributing to the country's economic recovery and gross domestic product (GDP).
Walaupun mungkin di situ tidak ada penduduk, tetapi ada petugas-petugas daripada angkatan tentera yang duduk di sana sepenuh masa sepanjang tahun. Nah, misalnya di Sipadan tadi, kalau secara teknologinya boleh kita tembak daripada menara terdekat kira 11 km sampai ke Sipadan, maka saya nak tengok dengan segeranya di Sipadan perlu ada kemudahan coverage broadband services di sana.
Tan Sri Anwar wanted to ensure that all tourist and populated islands have telecommunications plan to provide 100% area connectivity. Speaking at a press conference in Pulau Mabul, Sabah, he said if the islands are not listed under Phase 2 of the National Digital Network Plan Jendela, a special project should be implemented to carry out telecommunication development works which will be prioritised. He said the Phase 2 of Jendela seeks to provide satellite broadband in about 1,400 locations that are too remote for the fiberization technology. A second integrated poultry complex project worth RM20 million will be built by Felcra Berhad and agency under the Rural Development Ministry in Padang Terap, Kedah. Rural Development Minister Datuk Seri Mazzi Khalid said work on the project in Kampung Kubang Palas is scheduled to start at the end of the year and will be ready in October next year.
Apabila siap nanti tempat ini, dia akan menjadi ada peluang jugalah untuk anak-anak tempatan dapat bekerja. Yang keduanya, dia menjadi salah satu daripada program dalam agro makanan negara yang disebut oleh Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri.
The complex is expected to produce 1.5 million chickens a year or 250,000 chickens per cycle. Met at the project site covering 10 hectares, the minister said the project would be the second, with the first in Kampung Tanjung 100 Rompin, Pahang. All palm smallholders are encouraged to plant cocoa as well as black and white pepper as byproducts to help increase upstream activities of the agro-commodity. Plantation Industries and Commodities Minister Datuk Zuraida Kamaruddin said such an integration project would further boost the downstream development of the local pepper and cocoa sector. Explaining further, Datuk Zuraida said the measure would make a significant contribution to the country's economic development, adding that it is also a good way to increase the export of raw materials.
Jadi kita nak pertingkatkan dari segi pelibatan penanam-penanaman di peringkat huluan, baru kita boleh hasil di peringkat hiliran dan maka kita boleh ekspor dan mendatang hasil pada negara. So jadi itulah yang kita harapkan, dan this is the first program pada hari ini yang telah dilaksanakan dan saya harap boleh dicontohi ni plantation palm oil terutamanya yang lain. Kerana palm oil ni dia kawasan besar, lepas tu pokok ni bertahan 40 tahun. Jadi dia boleh menanam pokok-pokok iringan ini.
Speaking at the Keluarga Malaysia Agri-Commodity Tour Program with cocoa and pepper smallholders at Felda Inas, she said cocoa, black and white pepper are also increasing in demand and that the manufacturers of well-known chocolate brands such as Godiva obtain their cocoa from Malaysia. Meanwhile, Datuk Zuraida said that in 2019, the government decided to limit the palm oil acreage to 6.5 million hectares, and as of 2022, 5.8 million hectares had been developed. The Malaysian labour market continued to strengthen, recording 3.7% of unemployment rate in July 2022, nearing pre-pandemic levels, according to the publication of the Labour Force Statistics. Minister and Prime Minister's Department Economy, Datuk Seri Mustafa Muhammad, said the achievement was much better compared to the 4.5% recorded in 2021 and 4.2% in January 2022. Datuk Seri Mustafa in a statement today said the number of unemployed persons continued to decrease to 620,700 people in July this year compared to 630,600 people in the preceding month. According to the economic sector, he said the number of people working in the service sector is increasing, especially in food and beverage service activities, wholesale and retail trade, administrative activities and support services. Employment in the manufacturing and construction sectors also showed an increase, except for the agriculture as well as mining and quarrying sectors, which recorded a decrease in employment. The achievement of a stronger labour market was supported by an improved economic position for the second quarter of 2022, with economic growth strengthening at 8.9%. The labour market recovery momentum is also in line with the implementation of government initiatives such as the Jamin Kerja Wage Incentive and creation of the National Employment Portal My Future Jobs. Bank Rakyat has unveiled its first investment product, the Investment Account Risk Plus, which is open to Malaysians and non-Malaysian citizens with a Sharia compliant and no maximum investment limit. The largest cooperative Islamic bank in Malaysia assists Keluarga Malaysia in expanding fund savings in times of distress to ensure a better quality of life in the long term through this investment scheme. Bank Rakyat Vice President of Deposit Nur Azila Nasaruddin said the bank had launched the investment product on 15 July and aimed to provide new investment opportunities with a minimum deposit as low as RM100. Speaking at the forum to introduce Investment Account Risk Plus at Bank Rakyat Twin Tower, she said the product is offered to customers that wish to maximize profit through investments in the retail financing asset portfolio by focusing on personal financing portfolio and high-quality liquid assets.
Kita punya penerimaan akaun ni amat menggalakkan. Pada setakat bulan yang lepas, bulan Ogos yang lepas, kita telah mempunyai lebih kurang 1,000 account holder untuk akaun pelaburan ini. Basically kita punya sasaran ialah on a yearly basis untuk since kita dah launch 15 Julai yang lalu. So the yearly punya sasaran kita sasarkan lebih kurang pembukaan 60,000 akaun baru.
In other news, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah today launched a book, Tafsir Pimpinan Ar-Rahman edisi Rumi Baharu, the official Malay translation of the Quran. The ceremony was held during a working visit by His Majesty and the Raja Pemaisuri Agong Tunku Haja Aziza Aminah Maimunah Iskandariah to the Department of Islamic Development Malaysia's Jakim Darul Quran Complex in Kuala Kubu Baru. Jakim and Rimbunan Islamic Media Sdn Berhad in a joint statement said the latest edition of the book, which is more reader-friendly than the original version, is the only comprehensive translation and interpretation of the Quran published by Jakim. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Religious Affairs, Dato' Idris Ahmad said the book was published for use as a reference for the Muslim community in the country. During the visit, Their Majesties were briefed on the activities at Darul Quran by its director, Muhammad Kori Jusoh, and then visited the classrooms as well as met the staff and students there. Alright, so that's it from us this evening in our top story. Tributes pour into Britain's longest-serving monarch. Join us for updates at noon at 12:30 tomorrow. I'm Shuhaida Arifin. Thank you for watching.